meeting of the Norwood City Council is hereby called to order. Please rise for the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in these council chambers. We pray for thy divine guidance, that we may do all things well, according to thy holy will. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you please remain standing? In the last 2 or 3 weeks, the city of Norwood lost 2 former council persons. Earl Green just passed away and was his services were yesterday. Earl served on council for a number of years, and John Mumford can tell you he would do most anything. He would carry people's garbage cans out. He was accessible to a lot of folks. The other person was Jerry Owens, who helped us to develop Victory Park and to get the bricks up there around the park, and he was such a dedicated servant to the city of Norwood. So in memory of these 2 fine gentlemen, if we could just have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mrs. Stickley.
Here.
Mr. Blair.
Here.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Here.
Mr. Sanker.
Here.
Mr. Mumper.
Here.
All members are present. We have several requests to amend the agenda. The first is to add under administrative reports the law department, who requests to address council on the sale of surplus city property. So that would be added under administration reports. We have 3 communications. The first is from Chuck Barlow regarding withdrawing the objection to the liquor license transfer. I would suggest that we would just add that to the packet under communication number 1. So we would just consider that as part of the communication number 1 packet. There's an email or a letter from Gene Sickinger regarding the Williams Avenue Community Garden that we would add on as communication number 5. And then there's a letter from Dave Walters regarding the C9 Millennium Insurance that we would add as communication number 6. Mr. Mumper.
I move we amend the agenda as you just stated.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Sanker.
Yes, Madam President. I was writing things down, but I would like to also see about amending the agenda by possibly removing the ordinances here in regards to repealing the C9 trust ordinances and the new ordinance.
So ordinance 6, 7, and 8?
Yes, Madam President, and the reason for that is there has been a lot of discussion in regards to the issue. Number 1, the ordinance that was presented in our packets, the verbiage in that wasn't quite finalized. There were other amendments to that that were going back and forth that really need more discussion amongst the people who put that together. And the way I understand, they're trying to get together Thursday again.
There is a meeting on Thursday.
To discuss, these suggested changes in the verbiage of it. So I don't think at this point in time that it would be in our best interest to actually vote on something that really may be changed drastically, potentially. And I don't think, as far as the third ordinance, but I don't think it would be proper at this time to repeal the other 2 pieces of legislation we have pending on there without having a plan in place to replace that at that time. So I would like to add that to the amendments.
Mr. Mumper, would you accept those
Yes.
changes? And Mr. Blair, you'll accept those changes? Okay. So the motion on the floor then is to amend the agenda to add the administrative report from Keith Moore regarding sale of surplus property, the three communications that we previously discussed, and then removing ordinances 6, 7, and 8. Just to be clear, that is the ordinance, that's the motion to amend the agenda. Mr. Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to divide this motion up into two, to have the original suggestions that you laid out, and then a separate motion for the three amendments that Mr. Sanker laid out.
Is there a second to that? Our rules do allow, if a motion is divisible, that a council member can ask that those be divided. But we would need a second in order for that to happen. Is there a second to that motion to divide the motion? Hearing none, that fails for a lack of a second. So the motion on the floor now is to amend the agenda as we had previously stated. That would include those three ordinances. Mr. Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam President. So the reason why I'm going to vote no on this motion to amend the agenda is because I believe that we should have at least the first reading of all three ordinances today. And if there are changes that are going to be made or going to be suggested, then we can take those up later. But I think it's the changes that I've heard about are not changes that are substantive to benefits. They're changes more for eligibility of who's eligible for those benefits. So I just think that we should have at least the first reading of all three ordinances today. So that's why I'll be voting no on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bonsall. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to amend the agenda. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
No.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
By a vote of 6-1, the motion carries. We have two sets of minutes, the October 24th regular meeting and the October 30th special meeting. They were distributed by email. Mr. Clark.
Move to approve both sets of minutes as of read.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We will now move out of regular session and we will move into a public hearing. I will now declare this public hearing open. The public hearing is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation to approve Legacy Lots on Cortland LLC's request for a zone change from R3 to PUD R3 and approve the preliminary and final plan for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, 2037 and 2041 Cortland, and 2026 through 2046 Weir Avenue. The developer is here, so I would ask that you would come forward first. If you have anything to present to us, the plans were distributed to council members in their packet, and we just got these tonight, but you all got these in your packets previously. Thank you. If you'll give us your name and address, and then you're free to tell us about the project.
Okay, fair enough. My name is Scott Call. The address is 2037 Cortland Avenue, Norwood, Ohio. The project we're calling is the Legacy Lofts on Cortland. It's the collection of the two Allison school buildings that front Weir, Allison, and Cortland, and then the Cortland Baptist Church and the Baptist Christian Academy. All those, the two schools have been closed for several years. The Baptist Academy has been closed, and the church is running on low numbers. The plan is, and it sits on just under 4 urban acres. The plan is to save the buildings. We're basically going to keep the exteriors the way they are. We'll replace all the windows with windows that look the same. Right now, the plan is we're removing 50% of the blacktop, because if you know the buildings, especially the Allison School buildings, are basically in a sea of blacktop. So we're moving the blacktop. We're going to put gardens, trees in, and grass. Also, the blacktop we do retain. Those are going to act as parking spaces. We're saying we're going to get 112 units, and we have 140 parking spaces which will be assigned. So that gives us, like say, another 28 like off-street parking for guests of the owners. They're going to be condominiums. Each street only has, like, say, one entrance, like Cortland only has like one parking lot. Allison has one parking lot, and actually Ware has 2 parking lots. And they're not drive-through, they're like in and out, and they're going to be gated. So it just stops people from like driving around, so you come in, you park, and then you leave. That's pretty much the program. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Sanker?
What's your timeline as far as on the first phase of your
The
project?
timeline is that we would like to start demo as soon as the ordinance gets passed. So we're hoping, like, say, the first or second week in December at the very latest. We're actually working on the construction drawings, so we'll be able to put in for permitting basically in the first or second week of December as well. We're working with Mark Reeves. We've showed him some initial drawings we plan and things like that. So when we put it in, we're hoping we have like a week's turnaround. So they know what we're going to put in, and if there's any suggestions, we're working on that. So we're actually going to start working in December. The great thing is it's all indoor work we're doing, so that'll keep us busy until next spring. Next spring, like say into March or April, is when we're planning to have them finished to move in. We'll take up the blacktop on the first building and put in the grass and then the trees and the shrubs and things like that, because we don't want to disturb it obviously through the winter. So we're saying start working in December with, like, say, the first phase being ready for move-in by March, April of next year. And then we'll just do one building at a time. And we're projecting like a build-out schedule of like 2 years for the whole project.
Mr. Sanker?
Follow up. Yes, in regards to the marketing of this project, have you started an active marketing campaign as far as for the units themselves, or are you waiting till all this is passed and you actually have something to show? Or
well, the answer is yes and no. We've started some marketing on Zillow, which is like an online site, but it's not like, say, the impact of MLS or any of the other, like Realtor.com. And what we're seeing is there's a lot of interest in these projects, and it's basically like the majority, it divides up to like 2 groups. One is, like, I would say, the millennials, 25 to 35-year-olds working, and they want to own their own home. They don't, because we're selling them as condos. They don't want to rent. And then the second market is, like, say, the empty nesters, the 50-plus, who they don't want the 5- and 6-bedroom houses anymore, and they want to move back into the city core. So, and then that's what I'm saying, there's lots of interest from it. And then once this is all done, and once we get, like, say, the ordinance passed and things like that, then that's when we'll increase the marketing. We'll put it on MLS. We're working on like a website that will have, like, right now it's more just like an info website, but then it'll be like more of a marketing website with a view to actually sell the units. And that will happen like in the next 30 days as well.
Good deal.
Mr. Sanker?
Just follow up. Yeah, the plans are exciting. I just hope everything comes to fruition as
Okay.
described in here, and I do think there is a need for these types of units, as you mentioned, the millennials, and then you mentioned some of the empty nesters. But
Resemble that remark.
Yeah, well, you can be both if you want.
Yeah, yes, but I do think there's a market for it, and I do hope that things go well, and
Okay.
hope it comes out as good
Thank
as it
you.
looks on paper.
It should come out very well. We have the experience to do it. Also, we've been working really closely with, like, Jerry Stoker, Mark Reeves, and they're helping us quite a bit. So we have a lot of support from Norwood as well on this. So I'd like to thank everyone for that as well.
Excited.
Great.
Mr. Bonsall?
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. Will there be any I guess, accessibility features in any of the buildings? Will any of the buildings have an elevator?
All the buildings will have an elevator from the ground floor up to the last floor. A couple of the buildings actually have two-story apartments with interior staircases. So the elevator will stop at the first story of the two-story, then it's the internal one. And then every building will have a street-level entrance to the ground floor units, and then the elevator to go through it. On the Allison building, if you look on the front, we're showing that will be like the main entranceway. We're going to reinstate the right now, if you go through it, you can see where it was bricked up at one time and changed it, but we're going to reinstate it back to like the original entry, and that will be a street entrance. On the Baptist Church, there's a street entrance from Cortland right into the ground floor of the two buildings. And then on the Kensington, which is the peaked roof building, the oldest of the three buildings, where we're putting a ramp down right now. There's an existing walkway between the two buildings that actually comes into the ground floor. We're demolishing that, but we're keeping the area that goes into the ground floor, and we're actually installing a ramp so that all three buildings will be 100% accessible from street level.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Hi, thank you, Madam President. First of all, I want to thank you. I think this is going to be a wonderful project for Norwood. I think it'll be beneficial to the city and enhance the neighborhood. I have talked to you several times on the phone. You've always been more than accommodating, and I want to thank you, and I wish you the best of luck and hope everything goes smoothly.
Thank you.
And thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Does anyone else on council have any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for your time.
We will open this up for public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the project? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this project? Seeing none, is there any?
Did you want to speak?
I want to ask a question.
Please come forward.
I have to come forward?
If you don't give us your name and address, and then you can ask a question or make a comment. We want to hear your question. Everybody wants to hear your question.
Okay. Dana Bowl, 3947 Ellesmere. I have two questions, and they relate to a problem that Hamilton County had a few years ago, where there was a management company that presided over the HOA fees and misused those fees and their responsibilities, and a lot of condos were almost put under because of the way they were organized. And, you know, busy professionals don't necessarily have time to go to board meetings and things like that. So I'm wondering what the structure is. I mean, the facility seems great, but how that is set up and how long you will be involved in the organization of the condo board and that sort of thing. My second question is, you have a plan, but what if people come forward and want to have a two-bedroom, or they want to combine two units? I know that when the Edgecliff went from being a rental to a condo, probably a third of their sales were involved combining two apartments into one. And so, you know, if we have nothing but one-bedroom apartments, I'm a landlord, and I know that that means we won't have offerings to couples, young families. And so I'm wondering if there is some flexibility in your plan to combine two units as you have planned. So those are my two questions. So, fair?
Certainly. Please do. I know that on the plans there are two-bedroom units in here, but certainly he can give you more information than I.
Okay, thank you. answer the second question first. The majority of the units are two-bedroom.
Two-family, or two bedrooms.
We're actually building the units inside the template of the existing classrooms. And the majority of them are like 850 square feet to 960 square feet. So they turn into two bedrooms. We have a couple really big, like 1,600 square foot two bedrooms. That's in the old theater in the Allison, and that's just because of the natural light is only, like, say, on the end of the theater, so it's sort of like a bowling alley type unit, but they're going to be really neat. In saying all that, if someone comes in and says, you know, I want a 4-bedroom, can I buy two units and combine them? And again, we would have to, that would be like, say, a change of plan, and then we would then run it by council, we'll run it by the planning to see what we need to do to get that change made, and then we would do it. Also, on the oldest building, which has the peak roof, we're putting in 8 units up into the loft area. Right now, it's just a huge vacant space, and we have like 38 feet from floor to the top of the roof, so we can basically do anywhere from 2 to 4 bedrooms up there, depending on what the people want to design it. So we have a lot of options. So that's that. Going back to the HOA, obviously we're working with like an attorney to draw those up, and we're going to be following like state and federal statutes. The state of Ohio, like in the last 3-4 years, has changed how HOAs can be set up and run. So we'll be following those. We'll have some of our own CCRs, like you can't repair cars in the parking lot and things like that. So that's that. But at the end of the day, our goal is once we sell the last unit, we turn over the HOA to the actual residents, owners of the buildings. And then they form their own board, their own committee, their own president, and they make their own decisions. They handle their own budget. So it's nothing to do like with us in management position.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of in the public hearing, in favor of these preliminary and final plans? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against these preliminary and final plans? Anyone who wishes to speak against? Hearing none, I will declare this public hearing closed, and we will go back into regular session. We have we have requests to address council on agenda items, but they are to address council but not on agenda items. We do not have any standing committees of council nor second or third readings of ordinances. So we will move on to introductory reading of ordinances. The first is an ordinance approving a zone change from residential multifamily R3 to residential multifamily planned unit development R3 PUD for the properties identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 4300 Allison Street, parcel 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90 and 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0011, you get to read this 3 times, -90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-1090, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, and 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. What's your pleasure? Mr. Mumper.
I move we suspend the rules and have all 3 readings.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan,
Yes.
Mr. Sanker,
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye. Motion
Yep.
carries. You're up.
Ordinance approving a zone change from residential multifamily R3 to residential multifamily planned unit development R3 PUD for the properties identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0011-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. Ordinance approving zone change from residential multifamily R3 to residential multifamily planned unit development R3 PUD for the properties identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0010-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. Ordinance approving zone change from residential multifamily R3 to residential multifamily planned unit development R3 PUD for the properties identified by the Hamilton County Auditor as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0011-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90.
Mr. Mumper.
I move we pass the ordinance.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan,
Yes.
Mr. Sanker,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is an ordinance approving the preliminary and final plan from Legacy Lofts on Cortlandt LLC for planned unit development for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, parcel 651-005-2-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90. 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0011-90. 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90. 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90. 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90. 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90. 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90. And 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. Mr. Mumper.
I move we suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all three readings.
Ordinance approving the preliminary and final plan for Legacy Lofts on Cortlandt LLC for planned unit development for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-011-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. Ordinance approving a preliminary and final plan from Legacy Lofts on Cortlandt LLC for planned unit development for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-011-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90. Ordinance approving the preliminary and final plan from Legacy Lofts on Cortlandt LLC for planned unit development for the properties known as 4300 Allison Street, parcels 651-0052-0123-90 and 651-0052-0012-90, 2037 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0011-90, 2014 Cortlandt Avenue, parcel 651-0052-10-90, 2030 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0014-90, 2034 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0015-90, 2038 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0016-90, 2042 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0017-90, and 2046 Weir Avenue, parcel 651-0052-0018-90.
Mr. Mumper.
I just feel like yelling bingo. But I move the ordinance be passed.
seconded by Mrs. Hanrahan. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Mr. Cole, you are ready to go. Welcome. Welcome to Norwood. We look forward to it. We'll move on to ordinance number 3, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or safety service director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0004-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. I will let you know that I did speak to both of the financial advisors to the city of Norwood. Both ordinance number 3 and number 4 are within the financial recovery plan, and we took care of moving those funds around at the last meeting when you changed appropriations. So both of these received the blessing of the financial advisors, just to let you know that. So what's your pleasure? Mr. Sanker,
I recommend we have all 3 readings by caption only, please.
is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0004-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0004-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0004-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mumper,
I move the ordinance be passed.
seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We'll move on to ordinance number 4, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcels number 651-00013-0074-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. Mr. Mumper,
I move we suspend the rules, have all 3 readings.
seconded by Mr. Sanker. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0074-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0074-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or service safety director to enter into an agreement to pay delinquent tax on parcel number 651-00013-0074-00 through tax year 2014 in installments and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mumper,
Move the ordinance be passed.
seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bonsall.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I had a question for, I guess, the Law Department, if I could through the chair. Are there any other properties where we are owing property tax that's stopping us from filing for these tax exemptions? Or are these the only?
Mr. Moore, can you help us?
Thank you, Madam President. No, there's 15, I think, that may be right. 11, 12, 13, something like that we owe the original back taxes on from when the property was foreclosed on. Out of the foreclosure, nobody bid, the property was transferred to us. We still owe a significant amount of property taxes. These two in particular, though, these two parcels were part of the Paycor development. They were transferred to us, to the city of Norwood. And I filed the property tax exemption request early in 2016, and that's got a look back of 3 years. So I thought we were good because it was transferred to us in 2014. But no, we have to send something to the state to say that 2014 is covered, and then hopefully, if we get this up there in time, then they will retroactively go back and we'll get a refund. But in any event, we can't stop new taxes from occurring unless we get these done. But the other ones, you cannot file an exemption if there's back taxes owing. The treasurer's office won't certify it at all. So in this case, because we'd had it within that 3 years, they gave us a certification. Maybe the wrong person was at the treasurer's office that day and gave it to us when they weren't supposed to. But in any event, we filed these and the state came back, and we tried to do this several weeks ago, and we had a problem. And out of the blue, the state sent us new letters saying you have until December to take care of this. So we got an extension on that, which is good. So we can get at least these two taken care of. These are the ones that are big numbers, so we really need to get on these.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other questions? Mr. Bonso?
Thank you, Madam President. Are we able to?
The rules just say if someone else wants to comment first, that they get first.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Are we able to stop these properties from, by chance, I don't know whoever wants to answer, but are we able to stop these properties from coming into our possession? Because basically it sounds like we had nothing to do with these properties coming into our possession, did we? But we're getting charged the taxes for them. I guess I'm curious how that works.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam President. There are, for the most of the ones that came through the tax foreclosure process, we actually filed a motion with the foreclosure court asking the court to transfer the property to us.
Okay.
Mr. Bonso?
Thank you so much. Question to the law director through the chair. So in the future, when this happens, we can file a tax exemption request as soon as we get the property, and that'll stop the property taxes, or are we not able to do that for this general kind of property?
Mr. Moore?
If it's being auctioned off for failure to pay taxes for a tax foreclosure sale, then we would have to pay the delinquency in order to get the certificate from the treasurer's office that is attached to the exemption request that goes up to the state.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? The motion on the floor is to pass the ordinance. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is an ordinance authorizing the clerk treasurer to certify unpaid bills for the cost of grass cutting to the Hamilton County Auditor for filing as a lien on the tax duplicate of the owners of said parcels and to be collected as other taxes and declaring an emergency. Mr. Mumper.
I move we suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Mr. Mumper.
People, start cutting your grass. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, we go through this and everybody has to be involved, including the 7 people on council, to get this done. It's kind of ridiculous. Everybody just cut their grass and we'd be done.
Thank you, Mr. Mumper. Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to suspend the rules. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Please have all 3 readings.
Ordinance authorizing the clerk/treasurer to certify unpaid bills for the cost of grass cutting to the Hamilton County Auditor for filing as a lien on the tax duplicate of the owners of said parcels and to be collected as other taxes and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the clerk/treasurer to certify unpaid bills for the cost of grass cutting to the Hamilton County Auditor for filing as a lien on the tax duplicate of the owners of said parcels and to be collected as other taxes and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the clerk/treasurer to certify unpaid bills for the cost of grass cutting to the Hamilton County Auditor for filing as a lien on the tax duplicate of the owners of said parcels and to be collected as other taxes and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Clark,
Move to pass the ordinance.
seconded by Mr. Blair. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bonsall?
Thank you, Madam President. I was just curious, it's okay if nobody knows, but is this for pretty much the entire year or the all summer grass cutting?
Mr. Moore, do you know the answer to that? It seems like this is not the first one we've done.
No, it's not.
It's the second or third time we've done this, but as I recall, but you may have more information.
My understanding is the health department sends our Public Works and Health Department send over a list. Here's the ones that we've done since the last one, and we prepare an ordinance. Sometimes it comes as 3 ordinances all at once towards the end of the year, but I think you're right. I think we have done some earlier this year.
And I think there's only 2 or 3 times during the year where they will accept these filings. If we do it other times, they're held until 2 times during the year. But as I recall, this is at least the second and maybe the third time we've done this.
Great, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to pass the ordinance. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan?
Yes.
Mr. Sanker?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper?
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. We removed ordinances 6, 7, and 8. So we will move on to administration reports. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Madam President. I circulated before the meeting a cover letter asking to speak during administrative reports, and then a bunch of stuff after that, and I'll talk about all that in just a minute. I did want to, since I have the microphone and I don't get to just shoot my mouth off whenever I want during council meetings anymore, I just wanted to mention the 3 ordinances that were removed. I just want to give a heads up. A part of at least the overall structure of that plan was to eliminate the Millennium Healthcare Plan and substitute that with some other kind of benefits. And in order to do that in effect next year, though, the city would need to send 30 days notice to the people that are affected by that. And so there's kind of a hard deadline to that point by the end of November for us to get that out, or the city's going to have to buy the insurance policy for 2018. So I just wanted council to be aware of that, where it's going to go as far as the talks that are going on, and as far as our discussions with some outside experts as far as the mechanics with the feds and the state as far as how to structure any of this kind of thing. I don't know. If there is something resolved and worked out and we all have a kind of a game plan, I'm hoping we can get the paperwork done by the end of the month. But I just want council to know that the idea was to have a first reading, at least some preliminary discussion on the issues, instead of having it all one meeting, because everybody hates that when council does something all at one meeting, or all within, if they call special meetings, all crammed together like that. But I just wanted council to be aware that that was the intent, although it's extremely complicated and all the parts keep moving. Every time you think you got one nailed down, it moves again. I also wanted to ask council to please, as soon as you possibly can, appoint a secretary to the clerk of council, because the secretary of the law department is still doing that job as well, the bulk of it, and I know Joe is picking up some of that, Mr. Gears is picking up some of that, and I know he could definitely use the help. So I'm going to ask is to put that, higher on your priority, if you could. I also wanted to, what we have here is Mr. Bonzel mentioned it, the properties that we had acquired in 2011 and 12 and 13 and 14, 15. So a few were deeded to the city. Most of them are empty lots. A few of them we're using, and we just need to find a way to pay the back taxes on them and file exemptions, like the Williams Avenue, the park there on Williams Avenue. The bulk of them, though, are empty lots. We have no use for them. There are 3 houses, and we had somebody who's interested in them actually come and take a look. Public Works opened them up, and they went in, and apparently they are salvageable, and there is some interest in them, and I keep getting phone calls, and I'm really tired of getting them. But what I have given you is, I spoke to the people in Fairfield, the only city I could find anywhere in Ohio, I think, that has simply done the standard, we're going to advertise 5 times and accept sealed bids due with council chambers at noon on Friday to sell real property. And they sent me all of the documentation they used. I included here a copy of their big bid package. For them, it did not turn out quite the way they'd hoped the first time they did it. The person was going to buy it, the deal fell through, there were problems, but they're still trying to figure out what they're going to do. But that's the traditional process to sell surplus property by a municipality in Ohio. I also contacted 7 or 8 auction houses that do, online kind of auction things. 2 of them sent me, here's what we would propose to do with the city. I included most of what they sent. Yeah, I didn't want to make 100 copies of the 30-page PowerPoint from the one. But here's the decision the city needs to make. For the most part, I think everybody wants to sell these. We have no use for them. There's a few we'd want to keep, but for the most part, we want to sell these. The easy and cheapest way is to just do we'll advertise it 5 times, accept sealed bids, city council, the same way we, do bids for salt. Whether that's going to get the word out and the marketing is going to be sufficient to bring in people we want, that might be interested, I don't know, which is why I thought to contact some of the others. They have done, the 2 that we have, they have done these kinds of things in the past, is my understanding. They've got an excellent database. They've got a customer list of people that are interested in this kind of thing. Then there are questions to ask. Do we have reserve prices? Do we want to try to pay off the back taxes first, or make that just subject to all liens and debts as owed? The timing of these kinds of things and what kinds of groups. What I would request is that, based on this, take a look at this stuff, and that council put this matter into, I think, the Economic Development Committee. I think that's the name. It's not Community Development, right? It's Economic Development Committee now. Put it in that committee. Invite the 2 auction houses that have sent these things to sit down and talk with them and make some decisions as far as where we want to go forward from here. Because right now, from here on, they're all policy decisions, and I don't want to make those and then have somebody come back, "What? You really messed that up, didn't you?" That may be covering my own behind, but that's just the way I feel about it. So that's where we are on this. I have incredible amounts of other information. If anyone is interested, I have about a box and a half, so about this deep, of documents on this stuff. So if anybody's got any other questions, let me know. But I'm turning this now over to council to figure out where you want to go from here. And I think that's all I've got. If anybody's got any questions. I don't have anything about pending or imminent litigation tonight, so keep your fingers crossed. Nothing new is filed tomorrow.
So are in this packet, these are the list of the properties, or these are all of them?
I'll just be clear, that all needs to be double checked. I think I sent them, here's what I wanted to get a sense of, do you want 11 vacant, 1/4 acre lots? Is that something you're interested in doing? Is kind of what I started with. We've got these 3 empty houses. I got no idea what kind of shape they're in. I don't know if the inside is coated with mold or they're all pristine. I have no clue. And we've got these like 10 or 11 vacant properties where you would all be interested, just to get a sense. We need to work out the details and specific. I need to make sure that we have the right parcels, but that's a pretty good list. It's pretty close. Okay. I mean, there's one that we have a deed for maybe, but I'm not sure if we actually own it. It's that kind of thing. There's confusing paper trails on a lot of these, but I wanted to get a sense from them, and then we can work out the details on the specific parcels and what we do. Do we have reserve prices and what they would charge? Is it, the bidder pays an extra 10% or something, and so we have to look at if we're going to have a minimum price, we got to bump it down because of that kind of thing. So.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Mr. Moore? Mr. Bonsall?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we refer this matter to the Economic and Community Development Committee.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Mr. Mumper?
I would suggest we put this off till next year.
They can have their meeting.
Yeah, we can start talking about it.
Yeah.
I'd really like to get it off my plate.
Is there any other discussion? So the motion on the floor is to place this matter into the Economic and Community Development Committee. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Do you have anything else, Mr. Moore? Thank you. Move on to other requests to address council, and I do have 3 requests. First is Jenny Wallace regarding the C9 Trust.
That's unusual.
If you'll come up and give us your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to address council.
Would you hurry up, please?
My name's Virginia Wallace. I live at 1766 Williams Avenue. And I guess my question is because back on the 18th, there was a meeting held here by the 2 people who are supposed to be representing the police and fire, 3 people, and it was like, take this or leave it. There's going to be an ordinance passed that says they're going to do away with it. Okay, then it come back that there's going to be, we've made this settlement now, and everybody's supposed to take it. You guys got your packets on Friday. I get calls from people, a widow, who says, I got an email from someone on Saturday saying, don't bother to show up at either one of these meetings, it's being pulled. And they're all asking me why when they told us that we need to be addressing this issue and decide what they're going to do on it. I've been against it all along because I feel like the retirees, who worked for all of this, and they're entitled to it, and they shouldn't because of what the administration in the past has done by adding people, punish the people who were, entitled to it. So I guess my question is, and I know Keith said some stuff about it, about the verbiage, but why wasn't that caught before we decide all of a sudden we're going to pull this now, and so be it. I have a problem with that.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Madam President. My issues with the verbiage are not the kind of the substantive provisions. There are things we need to run through to make sure that that if there are changes, that the changes are done in a legal manner. We just saw something today and I think, is it on the agenda, the letter later on? I think it is, that some of the people involved in discussion say, well, no, that's not, we want to change what we thought the deal was. So I don't know what on the substantive side, I went with what was given to the law department as far as, here's the definition of the beneficiaries, here's the definition of the benefit, here's when it kicks in, and here are the steps you have to go through to qualify. That's all I know is what is requested of the law department to do. What's going on with, I'm not involved in I guess you call them negotiations, the discussions between retirees. I don't know what is changing or why it's changing or what may change again as far as what would be an acceptable deal, because I'm not sure how the representation is being handled.
So you don't, okay, question. For this committee meeting that they have, and looking into things, and I said to Gatto on the phone after I called him to find out why this email went out and only went to certain people. Everyone was not notified that it was being pulled tonight. I mean, people called different people, and that's how I found out. Someone called me and said they got an email from Joe Sorrell, or whatever his name is, saying it's being pulled. She calls somebody else and she says, I know nothing about it. So then she calls me and I said, I know nothing about it, but I'll call Gatto, find out. So I said, well, could I sit in on this committee meeting? And he said, no, because you're not on the committee. Well, in looking into things, people tell me that if there is a committee meeting in different avenues, that it should be open to the public. Is that not true? Do you know as a law director?
I don't know what the committee is.
The committee is Gatto, Walters, and John Hanrahan.
I have no idea what.
And supposedly they were meeting with Stiff and the mayor.
Right. And my understanding is that these are people who are wanted to sit down. I don't believe that it's an official committee. It's not a committee of council. It's not a meeting of a public body. Now, whether there's a retiree organization that has bylaws that says that their meetings are public. I don't know.
Okay. So what are you thinking, that they're going to redo this and have it on by the 28th?
I wish I knew.
Mr. Mumford?
I would suggest you just show up at the meeting. Do they want to throw you out and put you in jail? I'll bail you out.
I thought I was going to get pulled over when I ran the light out here because somebody turned in front of me. Mr. Park, I thought, oh God, here's the cruiser pulling out. You'll bail me out?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. And we've got it verified on TV, John.
Oh, was there something?
The next is Eden Urban Gardens. And again, if you'll give us your name and your address.
Hello, good evening. My name is April Pandora. I'm the owner of Eden Urban Gardens, LLC. Our mailing address is 3136 Parkview Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45213. However, we have 2 other locations currently in Pleasant Ridge and a leased location in Spring Grove. So I'm here to introduce you. Hello. I am, like I said, the owner of a market garden business, and what this business involves is growing organically produce. We grow vegetables, we grow herbs, and we grow fruits, and we sell them direct to consumer at farmers markets. We have been at the Norwood's Farmers Market for the past 2 years as their consistent produce vendor. We are there every last Saturday, and some of you have seen us there. We also sell at the Pleasant Ridge Farmers Market, and then we sell to restaurants and wholesalers. So, speaking with Mr. Moore, I was happy to hear about your lots. We are working in collaboration with Commissioner Stoker and the Hamilton County Land Reutilization Corporation, which is the Hamilton, also known as the Hamilton County Land Bank, it's a mouthful, to pursue using some vacant, unused land that has been vacant for 7 years. And we actually had a meeting today with Commissioner Stoker on the best way to go about that. And what this would look like is taking this vacant land that you're getting no tax dollars from. It's been sitting vacant for 7 years. There was buildings that were blighted, they tore them down, and putting it into productive use of a garden that is professionally managed by myself. And this would be a huge opportunity for, the Norwood community. It would be good for taxes. It would be good for us to have a permanent location where we actually have perennial plants that come back year after year after year. So this project is kind of in a flow right now. We are talking to, all the parties involved to, see what the best approach is. We are very much about supporting the community. The community supports us. We're very much about doing what is best for everybody involved. I have business cards. If you have more questions and want to speak with me individually, I'm more than happy to stay after and have that discussion with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Clark?
Have you selected already, like, the lots, or you're working with the building department to decide?
We do have a location that it has, yes.
Are you willing to share?
Yes. The lot we're currently looking at is 2161 Lawn Avenue, which is in West Norwood. Okay. It previously had a large apartment building on it, which Commissioner Stoker had taken down because it was blighted. It has been vacant for 7 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonso?
Yeah, it's on the west side of Montgomery Road, but it is, I guess, people might consider that more, I guess, North Norwood.
Oh, is that north?
If you want to, yeah, but you're good, but I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for clarifying, yes. We wouldn't want anyone confused.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next is Marilyn Hanrahan.
Madam President.
Come forward, please. If you'll give us your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to address council.
Thank you. My name's Marilyn Hanrahan, 2257 Monroe Avenue, and I'm here speaking as a resident. I wasn't going to do this, and then Mr. Bonzo indicated indicated that the only issue with the C9 and Millennial Trust was the only issue that was left was eligibility, and that's totally incorrect. There were many changes from the original agreement and from what the retirees voted on to by the time it got into the ordinance in here. Our seniors and elderly are one of society's most vulnerable groups, and I strongly believe we should be protecting and standing up for them, not taking away their benefits. Most of our retirees are seniors and or considered elderly. You know, I hear people in spiteful rages about the contract with the retirees, about which they know very little, including the fact that the retirees voluntarily gave up most of their insurance coverage 17 years ago. There are people out there that think these retirees are getting all their insurance paid for. That is absolutely incorrect. I'm not going to go through all this other stuff that I have on promises and that. I will say that at one time a city official was asked, why are the retirees, why they're the last ones to get paid, why they're always on the chopping block. And the city official responded with, retirees don't pose a threat. You know, they might as well say, hey, old people are an easy target, and they are. This is wrong. Everyone knew this was coming for over a year, and yet it was jammed down the throats at the 11th hour with little these retirees could do. I mean, they had threats. Ms. Wallace is absolutely right, that the city said that you take this deal or council is going to vote to take everything away. It was a threat. What's even more disturbing is after the retirees agreed to this, the ordinance was written with different terms from what was agreed, and the city attempted to get it voted on. This is beyond wrong. I'm looking at people in this city who work to help addicts, low-income people, homeless, dogs, cats, people who are struggling. And then I see these same people have no concern for our own seniors and elderly. We should be protecting the elderly and seniors, and what is happening here is completely unethical. Shame on everybody who was involved in this scheme. I sincerely hope this can be worked out in a timely manner so that everybody is treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hannerham. We will move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Mr. Blair.
Yeah. The past couple council meetings, I've brought up the community block grant. And I was wondering again, when is the due date exactly for all ideas and such?
It is, I know it's due at sometime at the end of November. Just to give you an update since you brought it up, I had a phone call from Chandra Corbin from the Health Department today. She and I have been, mostly Chandra, but I have been assisting her as well, have been trying desperately to try to find other grants that might cover that Norwood Youth Dental Program. And we can't find any right now. Cincinnati Health Department will accept patients from people who live in Norwood into their clinics, but they don't do the cleaning and the sealant program as we do. The state of Ohio does have a sealant program, but that has already been awarded, and that RFP won't come out until next year. And so Ms. Corbin did have a discussion with Joy Pearson, who was from the Community Development Office, who was here. And she's hopeful that Ms. Pearson will allow them to apply for funding for one additional year. That would give them some additional time to apply for the grants through the Ohio Department of Health. So that's one update I know. And I know you had made a suggestion. I sent an email to the mayor and to Mr. Gears today asking what the status of that was, because I know that that application has to be in sometime before the end of November. And I think it would be nice if council would know what projects were going to be submitted. I know you had suggested the gym floor, and there were others we had also suggested some lighting along Montgomery Road at the south end of Norwood. So at this point, I don't know. I can certainly take that upon myself to find out. And again, I did send an email earlier today, and I will make sure that we get some kind of a report for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Mr. Tannerham?
If I could add on to that, I'd like to say thank Chandra for looking into that. I just want to say this dental program for the kids at Norwood is so important. I know there are people who don't think it's important, but there are kids who don't get to go to the dentist, and this is really a plus for us to be able to get. And I would just like to share that. Thank you.
Mr. Sanker?
Two things. One,
Marilyn.
expound on that. That was one of the reasons why over the years we had that dental program in there, because obviously we didn't know that if there were other programs available, we wouldn't be the ones applying for them. However, we felt it was important to reach out to the youth of the community who don't have that opportunity. And I know there was some expressions about, involvement with other, community groups and this and that, but that goes a long way, the dental program, to touch a lot more individuals who actually are truly in need of it than some of the other programs that may have been suggested. So I do let everybody know that's the reason why over the years we have submitted that as, one of the projects. The other thing I would say we probably should have in our packet by the next meeting, the suggestions, because our next meeting is like the 28th, so
Correct.
It will have to be submitted shortly after that, if not right around there. So it should be forthcoming. So thanks.
And just as again, some additional information, I'll give a shout out, a shameless plug. The Norwood Eagles has donated money to the health department for the past number of years to cover those children who may not make who are just above that financial eligibility for the dental program through the community development block grant program. So there are a little bit of funds available. They can get through this school year. The problem is next school year, and it's hopeful that they will be allowed to do this at least one more year to give them time for planning. Any other new business? Mr. Bonsall?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to respond to the last public speaker that we had. So basically, I just want to say that when I said that the only issues that were to be addressed were, eligibility type issues. I mean, that was from what I was told pretty much on the phone when I talked to Bob Gatto last night. So he basically said there were some eligibility issues, and maybe he's like an and or an or something, but he basically said that was the main focus. And he actually, told, he had a vision in his mind of the people that were not going to be included, but probably should, and I don't disagree with them on that, on the people that weren't going to be included. And so to me, that's what it was. So I just hope that all of that gets resolved. I think that 2019 is going to be a big threat to this program when we start getting increased insurance costs, when the state starts putting more of their retirees off of insurance and just only on Medicare only. So just a big concern of my part. So I hope that we can get something done and get something to the council meeting at the next meeting. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Bonsall. Is there any other unfinished business? Just the chair wants to note that Mr. Blair had to leave. I know he has to go to work, so we'll just make note of that in the minutes. Is there any other unfinished business? Any new business? Mr. Sanker?
Just one announcement. I know we have another meeting prior to that, but Norwood Christmas Town is coming up on December the 2nd, down behind City Hall and along Elm Avenue here. It's always a great event put on the Norwood Professional Business Women's Association, and hopefully the weather will cooperate again this year, and hope everyone can attend. I know we'll announce it again at the next meeting, but it is a very fine event that we do offer here. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sanker. Mr. Mumper?
Just a comment on December 2nd. That's the Crosstown Shootout at noon at the Cintas Center. So I just want to, probably won't see me at Christmas Town.
Have a TV in the tent.
We could advertise it like that, TV in a tent.
Under the big top.
And of course, UC will win this year, right?
We should.
Thank you, Mr. Mumper. Any other new business? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to communications. The first is a letter from the Ohio Liquor Control regarding the liquor license transfer for Sorrento's. And again, I would note that originally the packet, the earnings tax, had an objection. They have withdrawn that objection. Mr. Sanker.
Madam President, I would recommend that the transfer be approved.
Seconded by Mr. Mumper. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mr. Blair. Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir?
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Mayor Williams regarding Mayor's Court fines for October.
Dear Madam President and members of council, enclosed, please find the report for Norwood Mayor's Court for the month of October 2017. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Thomas F. Williams, Mayor, City of Norwood.
Mr. Clark.
Move to receive and file the report.
Seconded by Mr. Bonso. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding monthly earnings tax report for September 2017.
To Norwood City Council, attached is a monthly report for September 2017 indicating collections in the amount of $1,842,467.77. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 15.37% over 2016. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Chuck Barlow, Tax Commissioner.
Mr. Mumper.
I move the letter be received and filed, and I'd like to thank the Earnings Tax Department for keeping that percentage up because it really helps us out. And I guess they've been knocking on doors. I don't know what they've been doing. Whatever they've been doing, they had to keep it up.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Chuck Barlow regarding monthly earnings tax report for October 2017.
To Norwood City Council, attached is a monthly report for October 2017 indicating collections in the amount of $1,497,835.76. This reflects an average year-to-date increase of 14.83% over 2016. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Chuck Barlow, Tax Commissioner.
Mr. Clark.
Move to receive and file the report.
Seconded by Mrs. Stickley. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzo.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanahan.
Yes.
Mr. Sanker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Next is a letter from Gene Sickinger regarding the Williams Avenue Community Garden.
Dear members of council, thank you for the opportunity to shed more positive light on our neighborhood's little green space. Williams Avenue Community Garden has a Facebook page. Please like us to get more information about events. A monthly garden newsletter gives details on garden work days and volunteer opportunities. We keep you updated on what's ready to be harvested and how to use it. The newsletter is a great way to learn more about your neighbors and fellow gardeners. We also have 3 new marketing gurus that are donating their valuable time. We are excited to see what 2018 brings. We are also working on a laminated sign/chalkboard that can be attached to the permanent wood sign to give more detailed information. Please look for this edition in spring 2018. A few clarifications, please. The community garden has never received a grant from Children's Hospital. The city owns the property, not the Norwood City Schools. It was named Norwood Avenue Community Garden, or Williams Avenue Community Garden. It's all the dashes. Because the school doesn't own the property, it's unrealistic to think teachers can or would staff the garden. Our educators have their hands full with daily tasks in the classroom. But gorgeous days, it isn't unusual to see a classroom walkover and use the garden as a classroom. A few events the garden has hosted includes Williams Avenue Elementary School has based a reading curriculum around the garden. The lemonade stand is a book the 3rd graders read, then develop the business plan. Every child has a task, whether it be advertising, accounting, or marketing. The children set up a real-life lemonade stand at the community garden. Money raised is then donated to a local charity. Williams Avenue Elementary also hosted a book club this summer. Children brought blankets and their book to discuss what they were reading. This not only encouraged reading all summer, it also helped with comprehension. This will be an activity we host every summer. Halloween 2016, Matt Reno photographed kids at the garden for free. Some pictures are on our Facebook page. Most are on Matt Reno's website. Several of the classes donated their time at the garden. You will notice daffodils, lilies, and tulips. These were planted by students. I have worked with Norwood High School recently. When kids need to fulfill work hours, I'm happy to help. This has accrued approximately 30 hours. Seedlings are started by the students every spring. Last year, Aaron Lockridge taught a class about planting. The children enjoyed getting their hands in the dirt and learning. Doug Broughton of Boy Scout Troop Number 9 built the garden a compost bin. The rich soil has already been used to plant new blackberry bushes. Through a generous donation, we installed a little library. It is being used by children as well as adults. The community garden has become a hot spot for Norwood Rocks. The city was kind enough to provide the community garden with a Ford box. Our first water source is the rain barrels. We have 2 that are attached to St. Margaret's house. The owners, the Sinefros, were kind enough to lend us their gutters. The rain barrels were decorated by neighboring kids.
Is your dad here?
It was mentioned that the public doesn't have access to the Ford box. There is a reason for that: safety and money. The box is a hole about 4 feet deep. Pipes are buried in this box. The steel lid is very heavy to ensure it isn't just moved out of place. There is one key to the box, and I have it. I was asked to make certain the box is locked and secure. I believe leaving the box open for public use is a terrible idea and would be very expensive. I didn't realize the city of Norwood was responsible for watering the trees that were obtained through a grant last fall. I assumed each homeowner would care for them. We are happy to allow use of the rain barrels if this is incorrect. Furthermore, the 50-foot hose attached to the Ford box wouldn't reach across Ellesmere Avenue to the trees. The Williams Avenue Community Garden is a work in progress. We welcome volunteers. We consider it a community asset. So many people use this green space. Every year we grow, we learn what works and what doesn't. Many families have donated their time and skills. The Ramada was built by our neighbors. The raised garden beds were built in a weekend. Neighbors showed up with heavy machinery to move several tons of dirt. Every person has a special skill. The garden would love to tap into yours. Thank you for your valued time. You are appreciated. Kind regards, Gene Sickinger.
Mr. Mumper.
I move a letter be received and filed, and I'd like to thank Jean Sickinger. She's done a marvelous job of taking care of this property, and I hope she continues.
Seconded by Mr. Clark. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Last is a letter from Dave Walters regarding the ordinance concerning the C9 Millennium Insurance.
Dear members of council, although we have been working on this and the wording, we have not been able to complete this. At this time, Robert Gatto and Dave Walters cannot support the ordinance. Thank you for your attention in this matter. David Walters.
Mr. Clark.
To receive and file the letter.
Seconded by Mr. Mumper. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. Mr. Mumper.
I move we adjourn.
Seconded by Mr. Bonsall. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bonzall.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Stickley.
Yes.
Mrs. Hannerhan.
Yes.
Mr. Senker.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mumper.
Yes.
All members present voting aye, the motion carries. This meeting is hereby adjourned.